Thank you for staying with us. I have two gentlemen here in the studio. I have Use Ubimo, who is a forex expert. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And I also have Emmanuel Eboigbe, who's a business analyst and is also an economist. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Blessing.
All right, before we get into our first discussion, which is the Cbn'S Naira for dollar scheme, let's talk about this new development. PPPRA pegging pump price, petrol pump price at 212 Naira. Use, what's your take on that? And then the NNPC releasing the tweet to say that since the old price is maintained, there will be no increase in the month of March. They have said that earlier, that there will be no increase in the month of March prior to this recent release by PPRA, and they still maintain that. And they've also added that actually there's been a return to subsidy. The government is now subsidizing at 42 Naira per litre.
Okay. Well, I think there should be a synergy, between NNPC and PPRA, because we're getting two different information from one body that is supposed to regulate, the price of crude oil or the price of petrol.
Okay.
Now, we're having this confusion because I also read somewhere in the news that the template was deleted about the increment in price and all that. So I think both bodies, should work together and then come out with one mouth and tell the people, because as at that overnight announcement that was made about increment in price, some filling station has already jacked up the price.
Just midnight.
Just midnight. I even bought at 208, on my way here. So I think they should come out and say one thing and let Nigerians know, are we having an increment in price or we're still buying at the old price? So I think it's between PPRA and NNPC. They should just come out with a clear template.
Okay. Do you have anything to say to that, Mr. Abegi?
No, basically, PPRA is to determine what the market price is, but the subsidy returning is only to cushion the effect of the actual price. So it's understandable. Yes, the two institutions are supposed to be working in harmony to fix the price of petroleum, but it's not unlikely that the government too, of course, know that if we allow the current price announced by PPRA to impact on the economy, it will be quite devastating, considering the fact that we are still having impact of the COVID-19 around us.
Okay.
So
now that, according to Use, he bought at 208 Naira, which means that perhaps some stations, some petrol stations are now selling at the new rate pegged by PPRA. Where do you think the confusion is coming from? Well,
that's where regulation will have to get in to enforce what the government has announced that the price is. I bought for 168 this afternoon too.
The old price?
The old price. So it's not unlikely that some persons are profiteering and trying to take undue advantage of the uninformed public. So that's just what's happening.
Okay, as the regulator of the downstream oil sector, I think the PPRA needs to be out there to make things clear to petrol stations so that Nigerians do not pay more than they are supposed to if the government is subsidizing the current price by 42 Naira.
Absolutely.
Away from that, let's get to the Cbn'S Naira for dollar scheme. I'm guessing that those who receive dollars once in a while are perhaps smiling. What's your thought on that, Use?
Well, that's correct. Those receiving dollars, of course, they are smiling because once you take the dollar to the bank, according to the policy, they are going to give you 5 Naira for every $1 you bring to the bank. Well, I will call it an elite policy, because if we look at it's the main reason for these new law or rule, I would say they are trying to say how to bring dollar, into the economy such in a way, in such a way that it will boost, the Naira, because we've had series of events where CBN were complaining that a lot of persons that expatriate funds, they were not, bringing it back into the economy to boost the Nigerian Naira. So I think these are policies by CBN to encourage people to bring in the dollar with this incentive of 5 Naira for $1. Well, it's a good one. At least people are getting reward for their hard-earned, currency. I mean, those that are bringing in dollars. But for the larger population, the question now is how many persons actually have access to this dollar. For me, that don't have somebody abroad, so how's this policy going to benefit me? So I think the CBN should look out for ways on how the system, the economy would run. CBN is supposed to be a policy maker, make policy, bring in regulations to watch the system and allow the system, to run. Because we're looking at, I call these short-term palliative measures, because
I was going to ask,
yes.
because some persons have called it a stopgap mechanism.
That's the truth. It's a short-term cushion effect, because how long will they keep doing this? And for me, from our point of view, I don't see it as a policy that can be sustained on the long run. So this, for me, is just a way of trying to see how they can encourage, people that have dollars to bring it into the system.
Now, Emmanuel Boybe, where is this money coming from? Money earmarked to pay the 5 Naira incentive on every dollar. Now, also just talked about it being a short term. Of course, indeed it's short term, because it's to last from March 8th to May, within 2 months. So after that time, what happens? What should be the mechanism to defend the value of the Naira instead of, short-term policies?
That is where my worries are coming from. I'm unable to agree, like I said in one of the other views I made, I'm unable to agree with it even in the short term, as it will not even stabilize dollars. Rather, it's just like you rightly called it, palliative for selective few. If I bring, what has CBN incentive gotten to do with my inflowing my dollar to the country, to the economy? Yes, it will look at checking the disparity between official market rates now and the parallel market rate. That is what it is meant to do in the short run. But in these 2 months, I read somewhere that it is expected that it is projected that about 17 billion Naira will be paid out as incentive. So the question is, just like we called it elite policy, the question is, if I have somebody who inflowed in dollars from abroad, and then I stay here to receive that dollar, I get 5 Naira for each dollar inflowed in. Now, this is it. In the long run, it's never going to work. Even in the short run, it's already robbing Peter to pay Paul.
So who's Peter here?
That is,
we already know Paul.
That is the generality, with the larger population, okay, that it don't have anyone abroad to inflow dollar to them. Here it is. The truth of the matter is that the economy need to open up for foreign investment. That's beautiful. But we need to find sustainable way of opening up the Nigerian economy, making it a best haven for investment, for foreign investment. So we should be putting in place portfolio that would allow, foreigners, Nigerians in diaspora to invest in Nigeria. So by that, they have access to lots of funds abroad. Thankfully, CBN has been able to recognize that which we would have long recognized in the past. So I say that having recognized that now, what we should do, sustainable policy to put in place, is to find out how they can invest in our economy. This short-run policy I read from somewhere, like I said earlier, 17 billion will go by. So if you extrapolate that for a 1 year, you would know what it will amount to.
Well, we're not sure it will be continued beyond May. We only know about May 2021. So we don't know if it will be extended beyond the time. But that being the last May, the policy has already started. This is March 12th. It started on Monday, March 8th.
Yeah,
So are there other sectors that would be hurt by this scheme?
Well, those that will benefit from it is certainly the foreign exchange earners will benefit from it. The economy will suffer for it in terms of inflation, because basically we are saying that Naira dollar, we want to stabilize it, and we are actually increasing what you get for every $1 you receive. That's the
Yes.
direct impact. You are actually raising what you get, the Naira you get for every $1 that is inflow. So it's some level of inflation. It's expected.
Apart from inflation, I know that some persons, the moment they get foreign exchange cash, the next point of call is the Bureau de Change. Are they going to be getting more patronage as they used to with this new scheme?
I think to a large extent, some of these policies should actually be looked into before implementation. Of course, the Bureau de Change would suffer. What's the point for me to take $1 to a Bureau de Change and get paid at parallel market price, for example, and I go to the bank and get extra $5, which is 5 Naira. So I would rather prefer to take my Forex to the bank instead of taking to Bureau de Change. Of course, it will affect their business. It will affect their business, except that the rate at which the bank is paying is lesser than the one the parallel market is giving out.
Okay.
That is to say, if
more incentive from the Bureau de Change?
Yeah, more incentive from Bureau de Change. If the rate is higher, then fine. But it will take only some informed person to understand some of these, technicalities. But because the news is bring $1 and get 5 Naira. Nigerians were just interested in that. But if you look at it technically, if the rate that the bank is giving out is not encouraging enough, fine, the Bureau de Change would still be having, business field day. But if it is almost at the same rate with parallel market and you're getting additional 5 Naira, so it will definitely affect their business, and that is not so good, because we're looking at the economy. We're looking at opening the economy. This is an indirect way of, trying to enrich some persons by shutting down some, some sectors of the business. So it's not, for me, it's not really a too good policy.
Okay, the cashless policy, we've been on that for quite a while, even though we haven't achieved that. It seems to be like when we talk about cashless economy in this country, we're concerned about Naira dealings. Now, if you are putting dollar in the hands of people, cash, and then the payment of the incentive comes when they come to the bank to make withdrawal of dollar remittances, and then you give them 5 Naira extra. What happens to those who do foreign exchange transactions, using online medium, using the e-banking platform?
Blessing, you have actually just hit the nail on one of the issues that seem to
okay, we'll go on a break. When we return, we'll continue with that discussion. Let's quickly go on a break.
E don land o. Evaporated milk we get better nutrients wey dey inside milk, like plenty calcium, vitamin B2, vitamin B12, vitamin D3, phosphorus, magnesium to help nourish your body. E dey for 3 packs dem, and the 60 grams pack na 50 Naira. Pakam. Hollandia Slim evaporated milk. Plenty milk nutrients to nourish your body.
Many thanks for being there. We're still talking about the CBN's Naira for dollar policy, and I have my gentlemen still here in the studio. Use Obimo, Forex expert, and Emmanuel Ebegbe, a business analyst. Now, before that break, we were talking about the cashless policy, those who do foreign exchange transactions using e-banking online platforms not being included in this scheme.
No, it's not unlikely that even though you are getting foreign exchange, it might still be routed through your bank account.
Okay.
Otherwise, it will be counterproductive, like I said earlier, to say you're getting dollar and you're getting Naira and then paid across the counter. That increases the amount of cash that is in your hand, as against what the policy of cashless society allows. The policy of cashless society would not allow you to draw more than certain amount across the counter in cash. So I think that the operators, that is the bank, the commercial bank, still will stay within the threshold. Okay,
but still, that's why not the inclusion of foreign exchange transactions for dollar remittance online? Why not include them to receive incentive? Is it possible to include them?
Certainly, it is possible. The truth of the matter is this: our country look like one of the few countries where you could actually collect, currencies of another country across the counter, hold them, go do exchange of it, and all in cash. So if they are not included in this circle, we would be having a challenge of one policy negating the other. Okay. What the cashless policy is meant to do is to reduce the cash level in the hands of people. Okay. Beside the risk is to curb, questionable and fraudulent transactions. So I think they could be included, whether you're receiving inflows in other currencies or you are receiving it in Naira currency.
All right, if that happens, sir, would you think, or would you see it as the beneficiaries of this scheme has been increased, like the net of beneficiaries have made wider?
Okay. I think, of course, the offline and online earners should also be looked into. They should, come into the policy and benefit from it. Because if you look at the society, you see Nigeria at large, you see the amount of persons, because the essence is to boost the Nigerian naira. Yes. Okay? Now, it is just that policy covering persons bringing in dollar, manually going to the bank and doing your exchange. The percentage is very small compared to when you decide to take people that earn dollars online. Like he rightly said, the essence of online transaction is to reduce the cashless policy is to reduce the bulk of cash individual holds. So if you capture the online earners, it will yield better results, because the percentage of people earning online are larger to a large extent, in as much as you have access to the internet. Of course, you have access, to transactions. So the persons that
come in foreign currency.
Yeah, that come in foreign currency. So the persons that are also doing online transaction, if they have been captured in this policy, then I think it will yield a better result than just saying bring in the dollar in cash and get, do the transaction offline. So to a large extent, if they bring in the online earners, then it means that we are now moving towards the cashless policy.
Okay.
But taking those section or those set of persons out of this transaction it will yield a very, very minimal effect.
Okay, I think we'll drop it here today and see how it turns out in the next 1 month. By April, we may have to revisit and have an assessment of the CBN Naira for dollar scheme before it ends in May. Who knows, it might be extended, it may not, but for now it is fixed to end in May, Naira for dollar scheme. And let's see how we can also show up, or the country can show up its dollar base, okay? Because these days, almost everything you buy, you go to, people will tell you, oh, it's a foreign exchange, the dollar costs this, and so it impacts on importers as well. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll be looking at Nigeria-China relations at 50.
Turn me around, make me wanna dance.
I will dance.
Dance, dance, dance. Oh, I will also dance. Wow! I feel like break dancing.
Hello, we're inviting you to dance with us at Jesus Resurrection Party Talk.
Easter Gbedu Dot Salvation.
Arranged by Independence Television and Radio to exhibit our joy of salvation.
The joy of salvation, joy every day.
Father of the Day, Bishop Okundige Osayuki Charles, General Overseer, Anointed Brethren Ministries, and Proprietor, Sita International Schools.
Partly sponsored by
The Praise Builders and Estate Developers Limited. Head Office, Comfort Plaza, 84 Etiti, off Adesua Road, GRA, Benin City. Vertical Solar, 28, Country Home Motel Road, off Ajub Junction, Sapele Road, Benin City.
Get Rich Global Properties, Kilometer 10, Our Meeting Plaza, opposite Rock of Ages, First Obed Junction, Sapele Road, Benin City.
Auto Bliss International, number 1, Imasoge Avenue, opposite Ebenezer School Complex of Ihama, GRA, Benin City. Call us to manage your car.
And supported by Jonasco Technical Enterprise, JJ Owa Junction, Upper Mission Extension, Ute Quarters, close to Temboga Market, Benin City.
Edosma Electrical Services, Dealers and Generator, number 61, Wire Road, Benin City. Mainland Academy, 14, Izoti Street, off Airport Road, behind Obas Palace, Benin City. Admission is ongoing. Prophet Peter O. Izawahai, Prophet of Prosperity, Holy Spirit Temple Ministry, JC, Delta State, Kilometer 12, beside Always Africa Filling Station, Belisima Oha, and Ekosa, Sapele Road, Benin City. Prophet Goldwater Agawanyi, Senior Pastor, Floodgate of Heaven International Ministries, second turn by your right, off Chief Francis Edo Sage Street, off Limit Road, Ubo Village Road, GRA, Benin City. SJ Furniture, home of classic furniture, 215B, Airport Road, opposite Air Force Barracks, Benin City.
Day, Sunday, 4th April 2021.
Time, 10 a.m.
Venue, on air.
Easter Gbedu Dot Salvation.
Be part of it.
Never forget, never forget.
Thank you again for being there. All right, it's just me now and Emmanuel Bogwe in the studio. So now we will look at Nigeria-China relations at 50 years. For 50 years, Emmanuel Bogwe, Nigeria and China have been having bilateral relations. We've also had to do lots of trade with China. Now, assessing these relations for 50 years, what's your take?
Well, I would say we're not doing badly in the relationship. It's growing bigger by the day. By last year's assessment, China topped the, was on the top of the top 10, importers to Nigeria. And of course, US too is dropping, and the, came to its lowest in 2020, of COVID-19 and all that. Yes, there are a number of reasons, adduced for that boom in the relationship. Usually, before this time, we were looking at, why did we get to choose China?
Okay.
Yeah, naturally, we chose China. We gravitated toward China because we were in the group of G77. Developing countries in UN. But I think we have moved beyond that now. And the handshake is becoming more of an elbow shake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, looking at Nigeria-China in the past 50 years, how can you say each country has done? Nigeria over the last 50 years, China over the last 50 years. Now, China has become an economic power globally. Where is Nigeria economically, globally?
That is the sad part of it. For 50 years, you say if two persons are friends for 50 years, you would learn from each other. In these 50 years, we have seen China grow from turning their trade table with big countries like the US. We have seen them change positions and becoming greater and stronger economy. We have seen them also open up to, regions of the world we never thought they would open up to, and they have developed their market, tremendously. The population, which we thought was their issue 50 years ago,
okay,
it's now a big advantage and a market. They've gone beyond that to extend and expand their market to Africa, and Nigeria is, critical. They've also changed their production, base and method, and their market is becoming more, engaging. But for Nigeria, we have only expanded our relationship with them, basically because most of the deals we signed with the Chinese, pole, is, somebody said they add sweetener to their policies. For me, we haven't really taken the full advantage of that relationship. We haven't. We've taken full advantage of that relationship because where we were then was to import raw materials, import technical know-how, import machineries, and that is where we still are by now, accepting that we have, maybe taking it a little further to say, okay, they could have production units in Nigeria, unlike before where we have to import finished goods, both electronic and others. But now we have improved on, they could have production units in Nigeria, increasing the level of employment they could give to Nigerians. But that's where we are presently. But for me, like I said, we still haven't optimized to the fullest that relationship.
Now, you mentioned that China has done good with the population that they have, which shows that population is really not a problem or shouldn't be a problem.
Of course, the case of India and China has told us that population isn't really a problem, but a plus, basically, because if you get into full industrial production, your production output will increase, and then you need, you need market to consume that industrial production. So that's where the market is, and that's China have been able to tell us that you need a market to consume, and they've gone beyond that to tell that when you have satisfied your local market, therefore you'll be looking for international market, where we become now more or less a dumping for their goods.
Now, in learning from friendship and developing ourselves, you talked about China and India making good with your population, turning it into strength. What exactly have these countries done with your population that we haven't done with our population in Nigeria, particularly China?
Okay. Basically, when you say a country is less developed, what you mean is that their mode of production, consumption, and distribution are still basically traditional.
Okay.
So what they've done with theirs that we have not done with us is that we have not changed so much our mode of production, consumption, and distribution as it were to engage a larger portion of our population. To increase our production, because when your production system is developed, the output is expected to increase, and that is where you'll be able to satisfy the market. Here we are still grappling with food insufficiency. We are still grappling with poor technological know-how. We are still grappling with poor power to empower our industry. So that's where they've done well with their production system, changing their production system from basically traditional, improved it to most high-tech method. We've still not done so well with that. So that's where our population will be a plus if we develop our people. If we develop our production, will the output from our production will increase, our population will consume that, and of course too, the other African countries will be a market to explore.
Okay, and still trading with China, we find that it moved beyond just trade, importing from China or China importing from Nigeria. These days, some of the loans that Nigeria have gotten are from China. And there's also the fear that Nigeria may one day be equalized by China because of how indebted Nigeria is to China. Do you see that relationship being healthy enough for Nigeria?
I had said in one of the other discourse we had here that it may not necessarily be as bad as some of us think, because some of these loans really, yes, you asked how how have we fared in these 50 years.
Yes.
It's not unlikely that managers of our economy may have also looked at it that we may not have fared very well, and are looking at the possibility of optimizing on that relationship. Basically, that is what is informing the increase in the loan, because most of these loans don't come in cash. Most of them come in machines. Most of them come in technical know-how. Most of them come in, they come to install a machine here, and those machines are meant to increase our production capacity. So if the loans are, that is whether technology loan, whether machinery loan, if the loans are used judiciously, it is expected that the loans would be able to pay back itself. So my take is this: loan may not be as bad in that sense as in the use into which the loan is put into. If it is put into developing our infrastructure, developing our production capacity, developing our distribution, technical know-how, why not? We would be able to, we wouldn't take over Nigeria. It is not, like I said before now, there might be underlying clause in the loans that we are not privy to. So those underlying clause, managers of our economy should sit down to look at the deal sheets for those loans, and the terms and conditions of those loans are the most important thing, rather than the absolute values of the loan.
Now, some time ago, the issue of currency swap was on the front burner when it became an issue that the dependence, the pressure on dollars was too much. So Nigeria was considering having currency swap with the Chinese yuan. Do you think that should still pull through? Because a while ago we talked about the Naira for dollar scheme. If since we do a lot of business now with China, if we have that in force, the currency swap, do you think it will help the Naira more than dealings all the time with dollars?
Mind you, China is gaining more and more. Like I just said, China topped the list of importing countries last year. It's not unlikely that that will go on for some time because of COVID. But even after COVID, they have eaten so deep into our economy that it is not unlikely that that leading position will change in the short while. But I haven't looked at that. The currency swap seems to be a better hedge. It look like a less injurious hedge for our falling currency in dealing with the Chinese market. But there are still there are still some terms and conditions to look at in that swap. That's the only, for now, where I'm looking at it. The currency swap still look like the best way to hedge against exchange rate. Mind you, the yuan, the currency, is gaining strength against Naira. Of course, that's obvious.
Yes.
The terms of trade, the balance of trade between us, it's more in their favor than in our favor. But I do, especially too when you look at the components of import. Yes, by last check, a larger portion of it is raw material. Then the other is pharmaceutical, and a few others are industry input. So basically, we need to also look at what form this import.
Okay.
Yeah. So currency swap is still will do well, provided we do guide how we go about the policy.
Now, overall, do you think that our trade with China or our bilateral relations with China has been advantageous to us?
Well, about the time we went to them, it was obvious that the North Pole, there is this North Pole and South Pole thing talking about. So we were together in the G77, like I said, and of course it was better then. What you do with the relationship to optimize is to optimize your relationship, you know, your position in that relationship. I wouldn't say we have done badly, excepting that, yeah, more so, coincidentally, China is opening up more and more and becoming lots more friendly with other parts of the world. And,
okay.
So what we need to do much more than before is to look at the technicality of dealing with them. So in looking at the terms and conditions of any bilateral relationship we are having with them, we want to do it very carefully and very cautiously, because that is where the issues really are. By and large, we would have benefited from that relationship tremendously.
Okay.
And it stands to be better if we look at the good side of it.
Now, having maintained relationship with Nigeria for 50 years, there must be something that China has seen in Nigeria that it is benefiting. What do you think that is? And how do we take advantage of it going forward for at least another 50 years?
Well, the first is market.
Okay.
If you have 200 million people to feed, it's certainly an interesting market. The second is that, our economy is the largest in Africa.
Okay.
And of course, anyone will be interested in us. You know, we are here and really never know what, advantage we stand in the African continent. We do stand lots and lots of advantages. So they may have also seen us too, that we have a will to make things happen. You know, our economy, they have also taken advantage of that. But from our own end, we should have a will to want to change our production capacity from being fully import dependent to being to producing local substitute for all of the things that's been imported.
Okay, take for instance pharmaceutical products.
Basically,
I think we can do that here.
We can't do that. All of the machinery that's been imported here now from China, for which we have installed, and then of course too, we have taken some technical agreement for them to run it for 10 years, 15 years. Before the end of those test run period, we should look at how to optimize on the use of those and change our production capacity, change our output, and change our technical know-how.
Talking about technical know-how, technology is the way to go for any nation that wants to be developed. Have we really taken advantage of that, considering our relationship with China?
Well, we may not have fully optimized that relationship in terms of technology.
Okay.
But it's getting better by the day. But I think that it should start from where it should start from, ensuring that from the cradle, in our basic schools, in our secondary school, the working class, we should begin to embrace the use of technology and optimize on it, get better with the use of it. So therefore, I was telling somebody, it is insulting today to ask a graduate, do you know how to do X, Y, Z with technology? So we should begin to look at integrating technology into our education, technology into our production, technology into our distribution, technology into our way of life, and basically would just become quite easy for us to take full advantage of it.
On a final note, we have so many Chinese companies in Nigeria. What's your take on local content? How should it be?
That is another issue. Like when I was talking about looking at the terms and conditions for that relationship, our local content, we must enforce it. There are local content policies I know of. We should enforce them to the letter.
Okay. 2,
we should look at qualitative more than quantitative. By that I mean, if for instance in employment, the key positions, the technical positions, we should be looking at how the technical, the local content policy will embrace those areas.
Okay.
So that it wouldn't just be taking operatives, that is the low,
being at the lower cadre.
At the lower cadre. That's not local content we should be looking at. So we should be looking at the qualitative aspect of implementation of the local content policies rather than the quantitative. And then we should look at it like our lives as a country, our life as a country, our future as a country depend on enforcing this. And also enforcers of this should be patriotic enough to ensure that they enforce it to the letter.
And that would just be one quick way to pass on knowledge.
Basically.
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Bogi, for coming on the show.
Blessing, you're welcome.
It's a wrap on the show today. Thank you for watching. I am Blessing AG. Stay safe and I'll see you next week. Bye.
This is ITV, certainly the best.